According to statistics, up to 40% of Americans are struggling with depression right now. And I'll tell you, in my clinical practice, it's much higher than 40%. Hey, I'm David Essel, and you're tuned into David Essel Live, the most positive podcast in any galaxy in the universe whatsoever. For 35 years as a podcast host, radio host, TV host, we've done it all, and we continue to do it, giving you thoughts and ideas. Today, we're going to take a little different look at depression. You know, depression, again, 40% or more of Americans, probably closer to 50 to 60% are struggling right now. Some of the signs of depression are a loss of joy of normal things that we like to do. Some people start overeating, over drinking, overuse of pot or nicotine. Other people shut down and isolate. Some people find themselves just extremely irritable at all times. Some people can't sleep at all. Other people sleep all the time. I mean, there's so many different signs of depression. A negative attitude, hopeless attitude. I mean, everything is right there. In 1990, after a failed suicide attempt, I was finally diagnosed correctly with deep, untreated clinical depression. Now, back then in 1990, we only really knew of one way to deal with it, and that's with pharmaceutical drugs and psychotherapy, or pharmaceutical drugs and counseling. And that's all of the options we had. Thank God it worked for me. And I'll tell you, it was a game changer, a life changer, because after that, I started questioning, is this the only way to treat depression? Now, the medication they put me on took away the suicidal thought, so I was extremely grateful for that. But there were so many side effects. Now, I'm going to stop right here and say something. If your doctor has said, because you have suicidal ideation or some other reason, that don't ever get off of these antidepressants, don't get off of them until you have a good conversation with him or another physician and get clearance. I'm going to be sharing with you things, but I'm not a doctor, and I don't want you stopping medications that might be saving your life. But what I found is that there's so many people on medications, and the number one goal of antidepressants is to numb emotion. And so when you numb depression, you're not healing it, but you're not feeling it as deeply, which allows people to survive and to maybe be functional at some level. But I wanted to go deeper than that. I wanted to find unique ways to deal with depression that wouldn't be just related on pharmaceuticals. Now, I highly believe in things like DLPA, which is a dopamine booster, Mucuna, which is a supplement, another dopamine booster, tyrosine, another dopamine booster, because you see, when you're using dopamine boosters, then you're doing the opposite. You know, where antidepressants numb you out, dopamine boosters help you feel better. But there's still more to do here, and this is where I come in. One of the things that we have learned, and probably about 20 years ago, I started doing this in my life and started utilizing it with other clients, because, you know, when I get overwhelmed, when I start going back into too much work, I can start to feel a slight amount of depression coming on. And when that occurs, I do the following, and I'm going to encourage you to do this. Step number one, we write down, I'm feeling depressed. You know, we admit it, we bring it to the surface. We don't hide it anymore. We just say, this is what I'm feeling depressed. Step number two, we write down what's causing this depression. You know, I have a fear of this, I have a fear of that. I'm really angry at this person, I'm really angry at myself. As a matter of fact, for men, one of the biggest causes, and women actually, one of the biggest causes of depression is submerged anger. You know, we don't want to admit we're angry, and there's things that we can do to help minimize our anger, which I'll share something today. But that's one of the greatest causes. There's a lot of different causes. I mean, the end of a marriage or a relationship can create a sense of depression, a feeling of depression. Loss of a job, loss of income can create that feeling of depression, right? So step number one, we write down, I'm feeling depressed. Step number two, we write down the reasons why. You know, my dog died, my partner left me, I'm going through a divorce, I lost my job, whatever it might be, you know, my mom or dad died. We write down because there's reasons that we have that feeling of depression, that feeling that we don't want to be involved with life, that feeling that we want to be somewhere else, right? So when we logically write down those feelings, the reasons, you know, the things in the outside world. Now, the next thing to do is to write down those reasons that we have for the depression. Can I control them? Are there any of these reasons that I'm writing down that I have control over, but I'm just not utilizing that control? Could I get up earlier in the morning and start looking for a job? I'll tell a story of my father when he went through a serious depression, 3 kids to raise. My mom was a homemaker. He lost his job. Can you imagine that? Losing your job, having nowhere to go, not knowing how he's going to support the family, right? And I mean, it was a very serious depression. And I have to tell you something fabulous. And this is going back into the late 60s. Is that when he went to his doctor and said, I'm out of work, I need some kind of antidepressant or anti-anxiety, the doctor wrote down on a piece of paper and handed him, he goes, here's your antidepressant. My dad looked at it and said, what? He goes, I want you 5 days a week on the golf course at 7 a.m., just hitting balls at the driving course, right? Driving range. And then from 7 to 8, then I want you to come home, shower, I want you to eat, and then from 9 to 5, I want you to hunt for a job. You see, the doctor was incredibly wise. He didn't just put him on a medication. He said, hey, there's steps that we can take here. So if there are steps you can take with whatever you're facing with depression, then we want to take those steps. Now, what if there are no steps? What if it's something happened in the past that you're carrying forward? What if the depression is caused by something you're worried about in the future? What if you have no control over what's going on right now that's creating depression? And this is where the next step comes in. And this is where the new step comes in. For a lot of you, maybe all these steps are new. But the next thing we do when we realize we have no control, that we can't change the situation ourselves, that we hold that depressed state. And we speak to it. We go, I understand why you're here. I understand that depressed feeling is because I've lost my job. I just went through a divorce. I lost a family member. Whatever it might be, I lost my pet. Like we start to talk to that depression. We say, I understand why you're here. And I'm going to hold you. And I'm going to embrace you. And I'm not going to run away from you. See, most of us are running away. Alcohol, sugar, drugs, pot, pharmaceuticals, they don't deal with the depression. But with the system I'm giving you, we're actually dealing with it. And then the last thing we do is we go into some kind of meditative relaxation exercise. You can pull up Calm on your phone, an app. You can go on YouTube and Google relaxation meditation exercises. Because here's the point. Once you find what are the causes of your depression and you act on those causes that you have some control over and you embrace the ones you can't control, then the next thing to do is to calm the mind. I have a 44-minute relaxation audio on YouTube. Just go to YouTube and Google David Essel relaxation meditation. You can follow my voice. Just do 5 minutes. You don't have to do 44. But see, that redirects the thought process. We've done everything we can in the physical world to help with the depression. Now we're going to give our mind a break. We're going to go in and maybe just follow our breath in and out of the body, or we'll follow someone's words. Like when I take you through the guided meditation, there's 4 different types of relaxation techniques. So we surrender. We surrender our emotions to someone else's voice. I promise you, if you follow these steps, rewind it, share this video. If you follow these steps the way that I've said, it's making huge differences with people all over the world. And it's made a huge difference in my life. Go to talkdavid.com. Let's work together. There's so many causes of depression. I've only touched on a few here, but we do have a solution for many people that will make the biggest difference in your life. And I would love to work with you one-on-one. Also, we have 4 books on our website, talkdavid.com, for free. So let's go forward. Let's embrace those emotions that we want to run away from, cover up, hide, submerge. And then we can really start living. I'm David Essel, always on your side. Have a beautiful day.